Yeah, that's the max. It'll cool off a bit in a few moments, okay? All right.
It'll cool off when we're at 14,000 feet.
Everybody can hear me okay? Can hear the music all right? Okay, great. Again, aloha. Welcome aboard, you guys. I'm Scott. Next to me are Lauren and Dan. Behind them, we've got Troy and Natalie. Behind me, we've got William and Sarah. All right. Today's September 16th, 2013. This is the 2:30 p.m. Big Island Spectacular. Everybody saw the safety video? Good. Any questions about what you saw before we get going?
No.
No questions. All right, we'll be out of here in just a moment. One last thing before we go, I just want to talk about the mics. Again, we have one mic for every 2 seats. Everybody shares a mic. It's an interactive tour, so you can ask questions, you can talk to each other, sing along with the music if you want.
Don't worry.
There you go. The mics will be deactivated for takeoffs and landings, okay? So they'll be off for the first couple minutes of the flight.
That will bring everybody down, so don't worry.
How many years have you been doing this?
Be happy, don't worry, be happy now. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
Everybody ready? All right, here we go. Up and away. Just departed the Waikoloa heliport, climbing up through 1,600 feet. Southeast bound, we're on our way to see Kilauea, the Big Island's erupting volcano. Passenger mics are on again. Feel free to ask questions, talk to each other.
How you doing, baby?
I'm okay. Good, thanks for asking.
All right. I'll do my best to make it as smooth and comfortable a flight as I can. I can tell a couple of you a little bit nervous. Right, Sarah? It is a little bit windy today. There will be some pockets of rough air and turbulence, but it's nothing to be concerned about. All right? Don't worry unless you hear me start to shriek. If you ever feel unwell during the flight for any reason, little white bags all throughout the aircraft. We call them comfort bags. I don't think we're fooling anybody. I think everybody knows what they really are. There's no such thing as grabbing one too soon, and accuracy is important. All right, enough said about that. I'm going to tell you guys a lot about the island today, but it's not my tour, it's your tour, so we can talk sports, politics, religion, whatever you feel like. One thing to keep in mind, if you ever say something to me and I don't respond, I'm never ignoring you. Sometimes I'm just not hearing you. You see, my attention will be divided. I'll be listening and talking to you guys on the intercoms. I'll be listening and talking to other pilots and air traffic control on some radios. You won't hear the radios. They can get pretty busy. So if I miss something you say because of radio traffic, I'm just going to ask for your patience with me. Give me a minute or two and then try me again later, okay? Great, thanks. Yeah, so this is the big island of Hawaii. We have 8 islands that make up the state. This one's the largest of the 8. This island's larger than the other 7 islands combined. They don't call it the big island for nothing. And all the Hawaiian Islands are volcanic in origin. They were all created through the growth of volcanoes. Layer upon layer of lava flows piling up is how the Hawaiian Islands were formed. Other islands are made up of 1 and in some cases 2 volcanoes. We have 5. That's why the big island's so large relative to the others. 5 volcanoes here. We're going to focus on 2 of the 5. The youngest and the oldest. We'll go over the youngest one first. That's Kilauea. That's the erupting volcano. That's the part of the island still growing, still being created. The goal being to see some lava over there. And the newest rock on the planet cooling and forming. And then the second part of the tour, we're going to head up to Kohala. That's the oldest Big Island volcano. And Kohala is where we find the deepest valleys, tallest sea cliffs, and tallest waterfalls here. Sound like a plan, you guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. So where are y'all from?
Dallas, Texas here.
Northern Virginia.
Northern Virginia?
And Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay. Family? Friends?
Friends.
Friends, awesome. Special occasions, honeymoons, anniversaries, birthdays, paroles, anything like that?
We're here for a friend's wedding.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we're very glad to have you with us. If it's your first time in a helicopter, raise your hand. First timers. Yeah, me too. I'm just kidding.
You're doing very well.
So far, so good, right? I've been flying helicopters for about 15 years. I was trained in the Army. Spent 8 years in the Army flying Blackhawks. I've been flying as a civilian pilot now for the last 7 years and counting. Doing air tours here on the Big Island for nearly 4 years. It was the Army that originally brought me out here to the islands. I was stationed for 3.5 years over on Oahu. It was a real hardship tour. But hey, somebody had to go, right? What can I tell you? So we've been climbing steadily since we departed Waikoloa. We departed near sea level. We're already passing through 4,000 feet. On our way up to maybe 8,000 or 9,000 feet. Heading up and through the center of the island. At your 1 o'clock, you see an area of relatively low ground up ahead. That's the saddle, the center of the island. It's relatively low compared to the 2 volcanic summits on either side of it. At our 11 o'clock, Mauna Kea. Over there at your 2 o'clock is Mauna Loa. Those 2 summits, can't see them just yet. We'll get a better view here in a few moments. Those 2 volcanic summits on Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa are each nearly 14,000 feet in elevation.
The black road we're going over, is that Saddle Road?
Saddle Road's going to be coming in from our left. We're going to intercept it at about a 45-degree angle directly ahead. And then out your right, a little bit further away, is a newly added kind of a bypass. It takes you from the upper highway, Highway 190, the road that runs between Kona and Waimea. A little shortcut will get you up to Saddle Road directly in front of us. Yeah, and Saddle Road, of course, the most direct route, taking you from the Kona side of the island over to the Hilo side. Now, as we climb up and into the saddle, we approach controlled airspace, so I need to get busy on the radios for a minute or two. I got to deal with air traffic control. So while I'm doing that, you guys just sit back and relax, enjoy the music, talk amongst yourselves if you want, and I'll be right back with you. So there's Saddle Road out your right hand side now. And as we climb up and into the saddle, you can see lots and lots of little hills through here, many of them look an awful lot like mini volcanoes. These are simply old eruption sites. These are cinder cones and spatter cones. Everything here was at one point flowing lava. The hills, these are spots where the lava didn't just flow, but rather something was forcibly spit up out of the ground into the air, and the ejected matter piled up over time. Hundreds of these eruption sites can be found all over the island. The Hawaiians call them pu'us, P-U'. Not to be confused with pupus. You guys know what pupus are in Hawaii? Appetizers.
The poo-poo platter.
Military airfield at your 1 o'clock, Bradshaw Army Airfield. Radio's real busy right now, so just hold any questions for a moment.
Gentle giants from the countryside, Waimanalo, Nanakuli and Waianae, they are the champions in a foreign land, national heroes, famous idols.
We're going to go through a little bit of a wind shift here. This is a spot that's been turbulent all day long, so for the next minute or two, this is going to get a little bit wonky. No biggie. Smoother airs ahead.
They've traveled 1,000 miles away, sometimes lonely, far away from family, all have conquered a dream that seemed impossible with dignity. They are Hawaii, Sumotori, Akebono, Musashimaru, and Konishiki. Akebono, Musashimaru, and Konishiki. They made history, heard around the world, on the radio, television and magazine. Let's all celebrate and honor these mighty ones. These are the champions, heroes for the young and the old. Akebono, Musashimaru, and Konishiki. Akebono, Musashimaru, and Konishiki. These are the champions. They are.
Alright, so let me tell you a little bit more about the volcanoes we're passing between. On our left, on Sarah and Williams' side, Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea is considered dormant. It's been about 4,500 years since it last erupted. The Mauna Kea summit's the tallest point on the island and the tallest point in the entire Pacific. Again, nearly 14,000 feet in elevation. Because of its height, it's frequently snow-capped. Yeah, believe it or not, we get snow here on the Big Island. This explains the volcano's name. Mauna Kea is Hawaiian for White Mountain. So sometimes here on the Big Island you can go skiing, sledding, or snowboarding. And then if you wanted to, a couple of hours later, you could jump in the ocean and go surf or boogie board. So this is part of what makes the Big Island very special and unique among all the Hawaiian Islands. More so than the others, it's incredibly diverse when it comes to its climate. Out our right, on Natalie and Troy and Dan's side, on the far side of the saddle, that's Mauna Loa. Mauna Loa is Hawaiian for long mountain. Looking at its silhouette, it's pretty easy to see why the Hawaiians named it that. It's got a very gently sloping surface and a very broad base. Big footprint. It's not quite as tall as Mauna Kea, but Mauna Loa is much more massive. 5 volcanoes make up this island. Mauna Loa is over half the island's landmass. It's an active volcano, one of 3 here. Mauna Loa last erupted in 1984. Historically, it erupts on average about every 8 to 9 years. So it certainly appears overdue. Who knows, maybe today, huh? That'd be exciting.
The air was more than human and the heat was more than hungry, and the cars were square and spitting diesel fumes.
How you doing, Sarah? Good.
Running wild because they're big
That was a little too loud.
and the children were playing cricket with no shoes. The next morning,
Yeah, so look out to your right front, the more vibrantly colored, more barren patches and bands of lava rock you see, all produced by some of Mauna Loa's more recent eruptions and flows.
so many fewer questions when
Now the nice thing about Hawaiian volcanoes is that when they do erupt, they tend to erupt relatively gently. The volcanoes here don't tend to be very explosive or destructive. When the volcanoes erupt, usually lava flows just affect a small part of that volcano. So the bottom line is, living here on the Big Island near active volcanoes is not as risky as you might think. And I like to think of these Hawaiian volcanoes as being a lot like the Hawaiian people, pretty easygoing and laid back.
disembarking from the port with no mistakes of any sort, moving south, the engine running smooth. Officials were quite friendly once we drowned them with our sweet talk.
So this is what we should expect from the Kilauea eruption when we get there, a gentle eruption, a small scale eruption. And a gentle eruption is a good thing because if it did erupt more violently, they wouldn't let us fly anywhere near it. A gentle eruption will allow us to safely take a close look at whatever's going on at Kilauea this afternoon.
Breaking children's day. There were so many fewer questions when stars were still just a hose to heaven. Yes, and there were so many fewer
Yeah, sorry, the radios got real busy back there. You probably noticed that airfield and all the helicopters. It's Pohakuloa training area up there in the middle of the saddle. They had Chinooks, Blackhawks, and Kiowa Warriors all up there. A lot of them were ground taxiing, getting ready to take off and depart, and the radios got real busy. Now there's no military unit stationed up there. It's just a training area, and it's used primarily by Oahu-based service members. Big military presence on Oahu. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard installations and service members over there. So again, that's where I was stationed back during my Army days. Oahu's a much smaller island, and it's a very crowded island. 1 million people, or about 2/3 of the state's population, living on Oahu. So not a lot of room for training. This is a much more ideal location for those Oahu-based service members to come train, because about 90% of the Big Island's unpopulated and undeveloped. A little more than half of the Big Island's population is split between our 2 cities, Kona on the west side of the island and Hilo on the east side. And that's Hilo in the distance, down the hill on William and Sarah's side, 10 o'clock. Hilo's population, about 48,000. Over in Kona, we have about 45,000. And the entire Big Island only has a population of about 180,000. Now the activity at the Kilauea eruption is again kind of typical of that small scale, gentle Hawaiian style volcanic eruption. What's very unusual about it is the duration. The Kilauea eruption's been going on now for over 30 years. January 3rd, 1983 is when it started. It's the longest volcanic eruption in recorded history. What we see from that eruption has certainly changed over the years. Periods of time have gone by where we've seen some significant lava flows. Periods of time have also gone by when we've seen little to nothing at the surface. So there's never any guarantee what we're going to get. Most of the time, at least in the nearly 4 years I've been doing these air tours, most of the time it's little flows here, little flows there. So that is what I'd anticipate we're going to see when we get there. But it's not up to me, and I wish it was. I wish there was a big valve. We could open it in the morning and close it at night. It's really up to Madame Pele. Pele is the name of the Hawaiian volcano goddess. Hopefully she'll be feeling generous this afternoon. One of the reasons why the lava flows can be so unpredictable is because when the lava's below ground, it's insulated, nice and hot and molten. Once it comes up out of the ground and flows, it very rapidly cools. And it tends to cool and turn to rock from the outside in. So even recent surface lava flows can often be more silvery gray or silvery black in appearance than bright reddish orange because of the cooling and forming of the thin rock crust. 950 degrees Fahrenheit is the approximate temperature at which that transition occurs, where liquid rock cools and becomes solid. So anywhere we do see reddish orange mixed in with a silvery gray or silvery black, we can say those points are about 1,000 degrees or more. Now Kilauea is erupting in two main areas. One of them is visible already at your 11 o'clock. You look out at the land horizon, you see a series of hills along the horizon. Those are pu'us, eruption sites, along Kilauea's eastern rift zone. The largest one you see at your 11, it's got some smoke coming off of it. That's the Pu'u'o vent. That's the heart of the 30-year eruption, where the lava's been flowing ever since '83. At our 12 o'clock, not yet visible, just beyond this ridgeline, is the Kilauea caldera. The caldera's been erupting smoke and gas ever since 2008. Hasn't erupted lava though since 1982. Now you can see it directly ahead more clearly. As we explore Kilauea, as we look at the major points of interest, I'll do my best to give everybody on board a good look by making turns, right turns and left turns. I'll put the points of interest out both sides so everybody can see them, okay? So just bear that in mind. If what we're looking at initially is not on your side, it'll just be a matter of time before I swing back around.
I was reading online there's a suburban neighborhood similar, very close to the Pu'u'o vent. Is that true?
Yes, it is. Sorry, hang on one sec. Yeah, you're going to see some communities up here very close to the action, so to speak. There's going to be one community just above the caldera itself. You can already see some of the homes at your 11 to 12 o'clock. That's Volcano Village, almost on top of the caldera. We get down to the Pu'u'o vent, you'll see some communities, you know, not too far away, a few miles away. This side of the rift and the caldera and the Pu'u'o vent, for the most part, it's at higher elevation, so they've got gravity in their favor. It's the other side of the rift that's downhill that's really considered the highest risk part of the island when it comes to likelihood of eruptions and lava flows. You buy a home on the Big Island, it's an informed decision. Just like on the mainland US, you have things like flood zones, earthquake zones. Here we have lava zones. And there is a bit of correlation between lava zones and real estate prices. So if you're willing to accept a little more risk, you can find some pretty affordable real estate over here. You guys might want to look around a bit while you're out here. Maybe pick up a little vacation property relatively cheaply.
Can you insure it?
You can, but if you choose to live in the highest risk lava zones, you might not be able to afford the insurance.
What about the homes that are on land that are in the Hawaiian Trust? I mean, the majority of the land is in a trust where you have to just lease the land from the Hawaiian people?
No, there's some of that for sure, but generally speaking, Troy, about 70% of the islands are privately owned, 20% state, 10% federally owned and managed. A good chunk of the privately owned land is owned by entities like the Bishop Estate. Bishop owns about 11% of the islands. Some of that might be, you know, Hawaiian homelands, but, you know, you buy a home, you own it. You own the land. Wasn't always that way, but it is today. All right, guys, I'm going to get us high up above the caldera. Sometimes you look down from high above that smoking hole in the ground. At certain angles, you can see some of the molten lava below ground. Not always, sometimes. If the level of the lava reservoir is elevated, not too far below the surface, and if the emissions aren't too heavy, that's when you can sometimes get your first glimpse of some molten lava. So I'm going to climb up a bit more and try to put us in a position where we can see. Keep your fingers crossed.
What are the restrictions for helicopters on distance that they have to keep from the site?
Well, they have a flight restriction down here around the caldera. Got to stay wide of it or high above it. Explosive events are rare with these volcanoes, but they do sometimes occur. We had a small explosion in 2008, and that explosion opened up that smoking hole you see. So that event triggered the creation of the no-fly area. So again, I'll kind of keep us just a bit outside of the flight restriction, the no-fly area, as I try to maneuver and give you a look. When we get to the Pu'uo'o vent, there haven't been any major explosions or anything drastic like that in quite a while, so there's no flight restrictions over there. So while we can't fly too close to the caldera, whatever we find at the vent itself, I'll be able to get you guys a lot closer to. Generally speaking, on an air tour in the Hawaiian Islands, 500 feet is about the lowest altitude that we're allowed to be. All right, if we see molten lava, usually it's in the back left corner of that smoking hole. So I'm putting it out the left for Sarah and for William first. And in a moment, we'll swing around and give everybody else a better look. Okay, we're starting to see it now. You see it down there, Sarah? The point of bright reddish orange. There's your first look at some molten lava. Now, the entire floor of that smoking hole is molten. But, like I mentioned earlier, lava exposed to air cools. So most of the floor of the vent looks black because of a thin rock crust sitting on top of that pool. But you can obviously see that one part where it's kind of churning. It's breaking up the rock crust. You can see it definitely molten. So we're on the lava scoreboard. First look. This is not visible to people on the ground, by the way. The level of the lava reservoir is elevated. It's near a 5-year high. It's about 50 feet or so below the surface. They say when it gets to about 25 to 30 feet below the surface, that's when people on the ground can finally see that molten lava.
Definitely beats the 9-hour tour.
All right, so Natalie, Dan, Lauren, and Troy, you guys should all be able to see that molten lava now. You might even be able to see, again, you got that thin black rock crust on top of the floor of the smoking hole. You might be able to see almost like little red veins when portions of it kind of crack. You can get glimpses of the molten lava just below the surface. And the Kilauea caldera is really the focal point of Volcanoes National Park. All the smoke and gas emitted by Kilauea has to go somewhere. That's the source of the hazy weather condition that we sometimes get around different parts of the island known as VOG, volcanic smog. You're right, you see the south shore of the island, follow that shoreline to the right rear, eventually it takes you to South Point. Southernmost point of the island and southernmost point in the entire United States. All right, in a few minutes, a couple minutes, we'll be beyond the no-fly area, and then we'll start a descent down towards the eastern rift and towards the Pu'uo'o vent eruption area. As we descend, what works really well for equalizing your ears, just to close your mouth, pinch your nostrils, gently exhale. Any trouble equalizing the ears, let me know. It can get pretty painful if you're not able to. Everybody feeling good so far? Okay, great. So once we get to the Pu'uo'o vent eruption area, a good rule of thumb is the shinier the rock looks, the newer it is. So especially shiny patches are going to be areas of recent flows, areas where it's probably molten just beneath the surface, and those will be areas where hopefully we'll spot some molten lava flowing at the surface. So the eastern rift of Kilauea is below us. It extends from the caldera all the way out to the easternmost tip of the island. You see lots of little eruption sites and craters along the rift. So you can see some of that out at your 12 to 1 o'clock. That's Mauna Ulu at your 1 to 2, that blasted barren-looking eruption site. It erupted lava between 1969 and 1974. Out in front of us you see a large pit crater called Maka'opuhi. Craters like that are usually formed not from explosions but rather from collapse. Sometimes you get big pools of lava that form. The top will crust over. At some point the pool will drain out. The thin rock above collapses inward. That's how you get a pit crater. And right above it at your 11 is a tree-covered eruption site named Kane Nui Ohamo. You can see part of the rift very clearly through there. Big crack in the ground. You can see some of the volcanic smoke and fumes escaping from it.
Seems like a lot of the island isn't developed. Any reason for that?
Well, it's really big and not many people. So there's just no need to develop most of it.
Oh yeah, and there's volcanoes.
That might be part of it too. All right, so we're basically crossing the threshold now, and we're entering the current eruption area. Out in front of us used to be tropical rainforest back in the 70s, early 80s, and downhill there used to be a couple of coastal communities. Then the eruption began, and since '83, over 4 billion cubic yards of lava have flowed in this area, covering about 45 square miles.
Are the trees that are still standing actually dead?
Some might be, but most of them are alive. Yeah, 4 billion cubic yards of lava flow, 45 square miles covered, 600 acres of new coastline added to the south shore, and about 200 homes destroyed. Let's take a look at the vent first. It's mostly crusted over out your right, but there are some spatter cones and skylights down in there, giving you a glimpse of the molten lava just beneath the surface.
Is it legal to hike out in these areas?
No. So look at your 10 o'clock. You see a nice little spatter cone in the left corner of the floor of the vent, glimpse of the lava down through the top of it. And then just below it are a few more little spatter cones and skylights. There should be 3 or 4 of them all in a row. A lot going on just beneath the surface through here. Fortunately, the spatter cones and skylights give you a little glimpse of that activity.
Magma.
So now you see the spatter cone and skylight at your 3 o'clock. Alright, now let's go take a look at the smoking tree line area. Obviously you got a bit of lava pushing into the trees, slowly expanding the footprint of the eruption. Now what you're seeing weather-wise is unusually clear and sunny. This is the rainy side of the island, so typically it's overcast, it's frequently showery. A lot of rain keeps the vegetation very saturated, so you'll see charring and a little bit of flame, but for the most part we don't get big forest fires here. Again, the real shiny patch around us, recent flow area. Mostly crusted over. Might be able to spot some molten lava over here by the smoking trees though. Most people would look at this and think destruction. The Hawaiians look at this and think creation. That's what's going on. This is the volcano growing, lava flows piling up, the newest rock on the planet cooling and forming. It's a decent little flow at your 10 o'clock. You can see a couple points of brighter reddish orange kind of fanning out in a couple different directions, but again, it's sunny, so it's kind of tough to spot, but Sarah, it's right down there at your 9. You see that? Yeah, okay. So that's typical of those small little breakout flows you get in random points around here. Certain angles you kind of lose it from the glare of the sun, but other angles you can see the molten lava more clearly. Right down there at your 10, yeah. So now you're getting the glare, now you kind of lose it. Continue to the left and it comes into view again. Almost straight down, 9 o'clock, yeah. You guys doing okay with the turns? Everybody feeling good so far? Okay. Let me know if that changes, alright? Kilauea's Hawaiian for spewing forth. The last thing I want to do is cause any of you guys to Kilauea. Alright, 2 to 3, right over there. There's that little breakout flow. So you kind of got a sense, you could see how it was a bit brighter as it first exited the ground and then how quickly the surface cooled and turned kind of black. Again, that's typical.
Is there ever any ash ejection?
Any what now?
Some places you'll get a lot of ash when you have an eruption.
With these volcanoes, not so much. Basically 2 different types of volcanoes around the world. A lot of people from the US think Mount St. Helens when they think about volcanoes. That's a different type than what we have in Hawaii. Mount St. Helens is a composite or stratotype volcano. That's the type that does erupt very explosively and violently, like Mount St. Helens did back in 1980. Basically the top of it blew off and that produced some tremendous cloud and ash. Hawaii, we have shield volcanoes. Gently sloping broad base, kind of like shields lying flat on the ground, and these kind of ooze. Think of these as being more like heavily loaded peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, okay? You can squeeze and the jelly kind of oozes out the side, so. Usually not a lot of ash, bottom line. Following a lava tube down the hill, you see a faint trail of smoking gas out your right in front of you. Lava tubes form when lava continues to flow in the same path and cools and crusts over on top. The thin rock crust above insulates the flow beneath, keeps it hot and liquid. So the trail of smoke shows you the path of the lava tube. We're going to follow it down the hill. And it's going to lead us to the remains of a community called the Royal Gardens. Royal Gardens used to be below us. It was early in its developmental stage. They had 1,500 lots. Fortunately, they'd only built out about 80 homes before the eruption started because all those homes are gone today. All been destroyed. All that's left of the Royal Gardens now are a couple little roads to nowhere, as we call them. We're going to go take a look at them. They'll be down in the Islands of Green at your 12 to 1 o'clock. Again, Islands of Green, these are survivors as well. They kind of give you a glimpse into how this area looked before the lava flows began.
So do the developers still own the land that's now covered by rock?
Well, they basically sold the lots, most of them at least. So yeah, those individual landowners do still own this land. Maybe someday if this eruption ever ends, maybe some of them will choose to rebuild again. Then again, maybe they won't. Look at you right now, you see little roads to nowhere, the remnants of the Royal Gardens. After we make a little reversal turn and we're giving Sarah and William a better look at these little roads to nowhere, back behind us you'll see another community right down on the coast, and that's Kalapana. That's a community destroyed by lava back in 1990 and partially rebuilt since then. Now, I've seen one of the rebuilt homes in Kalapana get destroyed again. That was maybe 2.5 years ago. That's the last time lava flows threatened Kalapana. So the eruption changes over time. Where the lava flows changes, how heavily it flows, that changes as well. So that's Kalapana, you're 12 to 1 now. The absence of any steam. The absence of any steam from your right indicates no lava is flowing into the ocean at present. It's kind of a 50-50 over the last 4 years or so. About half the time we see lava flowing into the ocean, about half the time we don't. Of course, when it flows into the ocean, that builds new coast. Sometimes when the lava hits the ocean water, it cools so rapidly it shatters, which is how black sand beaches get started. Down and to your left, you see some thick, black, chunky, non-reflective lava rock. Most of the stuff we see is silvery and very reflective. So basically 2 different colors and textures to the lava rock. It has to do with the different temperature of the lava when it was flowing. A cooler lava flow is very viscous, thick, and chunky. That type of lava doesn't really flow down the hill so much as slowly crumble down the hill. Top speed maybe 1 to 2 miles per hour, maybe. It gives you that thick, black, chunky stuff you saw. It's known as A'a, A''A'. I heard the Hawaiians named it A'a because of the sound they made as they tried to walk across it barefoot. Tough on the soles of the feet, right? The silvery gray stuff, that's called Pahoehoe. That's what you get from the hotter, more liquidy type of lava. That's what we've been seeing in the caldera, in the vent, flowing into the trees. Hotter, more liquidy Pahoehoe. It cools, it gives you the silvery gray stuff, and that's the type of lava, again, that forms lava tubes. Once the lava stops flowing, it's just a matter of time before plant life returns. You can see that process underway directly in front of you. bands of lava rock up ahead that date back to the earlier years of the eruption. Areas where you can see Mother Nature making a very rapid and vibrant recovery. That recovery made possible because this is the rainy side of the island. It's a different story, of course, on the much drier Kona Waikoloa side, the west side. Lack of rainfall on that side of the island usually means that newer lava rock is going to remain barren and lifeless for centuries. But this is what 2 to 3 decades of elapsed time looks like here on the rainy side of the island after lava flows. And it doesn't take a whole lot of topsoil for some of these trees and plants to take root and grow. And most of these will be ohia. It's the most common native Hawaiian tree. It's usually the first tree that grows in lava rock. Alright, now we're going to start to head away from the Pu'uo'o vent eruption area, away from Kilauea, off towards the city of Hilo. So check it off the bucket list, lava. Been there, done that. You guys having a good time so far? Okay, great. So 11 to 12 in the distance is Hilo Bay. It's the major deep water port for the island. And the city of Hilo just this side of the bay. We're going to head there next. We're going to head to the Hilo airport where we'll take a short break. And at the airport, let you unload, stretch your legs, hit the restrooms. Take out a little fuel before we start the second part of the tour. I'm going to need a few minutes on the radios dealing with air traffic control, getting our clearance, so you guys can sit back and relax, enjoy the music, talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be back with you in a few.
Okay, this one's for Gabby.
As we approach Hilo, you look around, you're going to see a lot of greenhouses, a lot of dark gray and black tarp covered areas. Those will be mostly tropical flower farms. There is a tremendous number and variety of tropical flowers grown here. And the Big Island's the largest commercial producer of orchids in the world. So you may hear the island referred to as the Orchid Isle. At our 10 o'clock and our 12 o'clock, we also see 2 large macadamia nut farms. Tall trees laid out in a grid pattern are there as a windbreak to shelter and protect the macadamia nut trees inside. I should probably warn you all about chocolate-covered macadamia nuts. Be careful, they're highly addictive, okay? Really, really yummy. It's too late for me. I'm already hooked. So Hilo up at Trail 11. Beautiful day in Hilo today. Hilo, you see, is the rainiest city in the U.S. Gets about 150 inches of rain a year. Averages about 240 rainy days a year.
Would have been nice to meet some of the growers here.
Sorry, say again?
Sarah's a florist. So
Oh, okay. You might want to spend some time over here. You'd really enjoy it.
Think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
All right, so we're starting our descent for landing at the Hilo Airport. When we do land, I'm going to shut the aircraft down before we unload. So once we're on the ground, just sit back and relax. Please do not open any doors. Our ground crew will get at the doors for us when the rotors stop turning. They'll assist you all with safely exiting and escort you as a group to a small terminal. It's got restrooms and water fountains inside. So just a short pit stop, 5 or 10 minutes in duration, and we'll head back out, load up, we'll be on our way for the second part of the tour. The second part of the tour, in my opinion, is even better than the first part. My favorite part of the island are the Kohala Valleys. I gotta turn off the mics now for the approach and landing. Talk to you guys again in a couple of minutes once we're down.
Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind.
right, we'll get the doors for you in a moment. You can take off seatbelts and headsets.